It's definitely safe to say that the drama regarding the paranormal field is plentiful at the moment. When you think something's over, turns out it's not over. When something is finally over, What happens when you get well-respected paranormal YouTubers to come in to cleanse your home of quote-unquote spirits or demons or whatever? Well, you might end up with a bit of a calamity like what's been going on with Paranormal Nightmare TV, allegedly, over the past few weeks. So, obviously, Paranormal Nightmare TV, a very well-respected paranormal channel, okay? They've built a very good reputation for themselves. They are kind of seen as the godfathers of this whole situation. You know, they go into paranormal locations. They're not like a twin paranormal or Sam and Colby where they go into well-reported paranormal locations. No. What these guys do is they get, they do home calls, essentially, similar to that of Zach Baggins and Ghost Adventures home calls. People reach out to these guys and state, I feel like I'm suffering with some kind of thing in my home. Can you please come and help? And these guys are like, sure. They pack up all their equipment, and the trade is they get content and the family get a cleanse or a whatever, right? They get rid of the spirits in their home. And that's kind of the idea of Paranormal Nightmare TV, and that's the kind of content that these guys create. But they have been facing some significant backlash recently after people who have participated within their home cleansings have called them out for essentially sensationalizing the situation and, kind of leaving people high and dry after finishing their video. So their video gets uploaded, they go over, they do all the rest of it, it goes onto YouTube, that's it, job done. Apparently these guys just walk away forever and don't talk to you again. Essentially is the crux of the situation. Now this obviously came to light from initially from a YouTuber called Beardo Gets Scared, who is a paranormal debunker, and he put Paranormal Nightmare, this is unforgivable. And essentially within the video he is contacted by a man named Jed. Now, Jed reaches out because he is a homeowner who is allegedly experiencing unexplainable events in his home. All right, so he reached out to the Foreman Brothers, who are, like I've stated, prominent investigators. And their whole shtick is that they help people. Initially, Jed trusted them to provide answers and support. However, after the investigation, the Foreman Brothers labelled his home as a quote demonic haunting. Now, this is where the situation gets a little bit, this is where the trust starts to kind of wear out, apparently. Now, we all know about, demonic, this, that, and the other, and, scratched, and I almost died. Works incredibly well for the YouTube SEO. It helps you get searched, it's far more of an enticing title for a YouTuber as opposed to just, we cleansed a paranormal home. Alright, that sounds kind of boring compared to this demonic house had evil entities that tried to kill us. People want to see that. But obviously the difference is here that's being brought up by Beardo and by other paranormal YouTubers that we're going to, get into in just a moment. The difference is that you're not just going to a paranormal location. Alright, the difference is that these are genuine people's experiences in real life people's homes. That's kind of the difference, and that's where, it's deemed to be a little bit more unethical. But after the investigation, like I stated, they, labeled this as a demonic haunting in their YouTube video without providing him with any findings, support, or follow-up. Now, the latter part there is very, very important. Jed later discovered that the Foreman Brothers had likely sensationalized the situation that he was living in for views. And that's where Beardo on your screens right now comes into the situation. So, feeling abandoned and misled, Jed did contact the debunker from the UK, and the debunker, after verifying Jed's story, which I've got to say, credit to Beardo for that one, because there have been times where I've watched some Beardo videos and he stated, I've got this email, that email, and he's like not shown the emails, and I'm like, well, we've only got your word to state that. But in this instance, he does actually show the text messages that he gets from Jed. And actually, like you can see on your screens right here, he does show the entire situation and transcript, which is great. So, obviously, like I say, feeling left out and abandoned, he reached out to Beardo. And after, you know, verifying Jed's story and connecting him with reputable paranormal investigators like Jeff from Boo Productions, Jeff promptly reached out and provided guidance and agreed to investigate further, bringing hope to Jed and his family, which of course is a fantastic end to an otherwise kind of shady situation. Now, you know, I'm going to get into the whole situation in its entirety in just a moment, but Beardo does go on in this video to criticise the Foreman Brothers for their unethical behaviour, accusing them of prioritising content creation over genuine support and exploiting vulnerable families and misusing their platform for personal gain. So, you know, there's the whole situation regarding the Beardo situation. Now, obviously, it's a whole 36-minute video. If you want to go and check it out, you need to go over to Beardo's channel. But, you know, he obviously breaks it down that was just a summary of what's gone on thus far. So yeah, it's a difficult one, because obviously when you're dealing with people's genuine homes, you have to tread very carefully. Whereas if it was a paranormal location that's well known, people don't particularly care, you know, they're just like, yeah, have at it, whatever. They don't really look too deep into it. But obviously this person's taken, understandably I suppose, a bit of a dislike to the way that they've dealt with it. But as if that wasn't bad enough for Paranormal Nightmare, the following day, which was on the 10th of December, another debunking YouTuber by the name of the Side-Eye Guy uploaded a video stating, "Do Paranormal Nightmare profit from misery and trauma of the vulnerable?" And, you know, I thought that this was going to be another of the same, where, you know, he kind of goes through the same story that Beardo did. But in fact, what actually happened was very, very different. This, in fact, was a different story altogether. So, the video from the Side-Eye Guy critiques the Foreman Brothers, again otherwise known as Paranormal Nightmare, for their handling of a vulnerable woman, named Cheryl, who believes her home is infested by a demon. Cheryl has faced immense personal tragedy, including the murder of her son by an abusive partner, and she also appears to struggle with mental health issues and potential substance abuse. Okay, so that's kind of what's reported within the Side-Eye Guy video and all the rest of it. But moving forwards, you know, this is where the critique comes in. So the initial investigation, the Foreman Brothers initially visited Cheryl, but left due to safety concerns involving her abusive partner, okay? And after her partner fled and Cheryl reached out again, they returned to quote-unquote help. So that was the initial part of the video and all the rest of it. But you know, they then had some allegedly questionable practices. So they use paranormal apps which are unreliable and can exacerbate fears. They left Cheryl alone with one, feeding into her belief that she was communicating with a demon. Obviously, this is all what is kind of stated by the Side-Eye Guy. I'm kind of reciting it almost verbatim on a bit of a breakdown that I've done. And they filmed Cheryl discussing her trauma and fears, which critics see as exploiting her suffering for profit. All right. And then on the second visit, although the Foreman Brothers stayed in touch with Cheryl on this occasion, unlike they allegedly did with Jed, their actions during the second visit appeared to prioritize creating content over genuinely helping Cheryl. They framed Cheryl's issues in terms of, quote, demonic activity, despite her evident need for professional mental health support. And then, obviously, again, just like with Jed, there were the ethical concerns that were brought into this. So the video criticizes the Foreman Brothers for continuing to film Cheryl after her son's recent death, questioning her motives and duty of care, and their advice, rooted in religious overtones, seemed to deflect from Cheryl's real challenges such as grief and trauma. And the overall critique from the Side-Eye Guy was that while they did take steps to improve Cheryl's living conditions, e.g. paying for exterminators, their focus on filming and profiting from Cheryl's vulnerable state undermines their claims of genuine help. And the narrator concludes, obviously the Side-Eye Guy concludes, that their approach does more harm than good and questions their integrity as paranormal investigators. So again, both of those videos, the Cheryl situation is over on the Side-Eye Guy's YouTube channel, and Jed's situation is over on Beardo's channel. You can check both of those out. Now, As soon as these videos dropped, Paranormal Nightmare TV did jump on this, and they posted a community post over on their channel. So they put this up, which states, just to clear up some of the misinformation, all clients we work with are told up front there are no guarantees. We will do our best and pray everything will eventually get better. As all of you know, not every case has a happy ending. We continue to pray for these families. People need to get both sides of the story and not make everything a one-sided just to attack someone. And then posted screenshots of their conversation in which they state, "We are so happy that we got to meet you guys too." This was obviously from Jed. "I have done a ton of research on paranormal groups and you guys are the only ones for our job. You do not care about the publicity and you care about the families. You guys are a blessing. Also, this location has never been investigated. We are next door to a real castle and on the Haunted Ohio website and block away from the abandoned Wagner Ware." Now, obviously, I can't for some reason tap on the photo. Oh, it does go first. But if I had some information about what's here, I may be able to fight it. I have been doing tons of cleansing work pretty much every day to keep it at bay. Her name is Terry. I'm sorry if we bother you guys. We just feel a strong connection with all of you. Her and I have been talking about asking you guys if we should get you guys somewhere nice to eat someday. I mean, in the future, we can all sit down at a steakhouse and hang out and just talk. We just want to give something back for helping our family. So that's the first batch of posts that Paranormal Nightmare TV put up. And then they put up a second one, which was from Jed once again. And they stated, "The last email was in December of 2023, then silence." And the post goes on as follows. So, the Linen Family Haunting from Jed. "Thank you so much for the response. I totally understand schedule things, so please don't stress over it. And we feel much safer now that we may be able to figure it out. You can have the house for as long as you need it. I'm sorry if I have bothered you, but I just don't want anyone else in this house contaminating the area, and it is attacking my daughter and my ex-wife even worse than before. It is touching us now, and we have used some of our own equipment to try to verify the events are authentic. We are not communicating or making contact with anything." And then a follow-up. This was from Paranormal Nightmare to Jed. So this is apparently the last contact that they had in 2023. Something about, "I'm sorry to hear that things have picked back up. Let me see what we can figure out with our schedule. I don't think we need to sit down interviews. Basically just an update with you to get we can get the place for at least 4 hours or so alone to do an investigation. Also remove the cats prior to us investigating. I know the last time a few things had gone on, but that was the cats. This way we can really rule out any of that out. Thanks and be in touch soon." And that was from Josh. Okay, so they've obviously responded and been like, "Look, Jed wasn't left high and dry. This was the last time that we spoke to to Jed, and here's the transcript of that happening." Now, whether you guys believe that or not is completely up to you. There were follow-up Facebook messages from February 7th, 2023. As you can see here, and then they just go on to show these. "Hey, you guys, doing an episode of Findings of Our House. We are interested in seeing what you guys found out about the place. The house has started to act up again," and that came on February 15th, 2023. So there you go. There's that whole situation. Now, I was thinking about reaching out to Jed myself to kind of chat with him, over camera, but then I learned that someone else has already beat me to that. So, they're obviously gonna take that, and I'm gonna be intrigued to see what happens. So Andrew Stonerock of, the YouTube channel Andrew Stonerock has posted 11 hours ago, interview with Jed and his family going down in about 30 minutes. He has consented to having it recorded and a video being made about it. I'm doing this to get the story out there for everyone to hear. So obviously I'm intrigued to see how that goes down. But and then that did end up going down, right? And that interview, I believe, is still over on Andrew Stonerock's YouTube channel. I mean, that was kind of where we left it. I did reach out to Paranormal Nightmare to be like, look, and I reached out to kind of everyone involved, actually, who we haven't heard the side of yet. So I reached out to Paranormal Nightmare and I reached out to Boo Productions. Paranormal Nightmare were interested in chatting with me in an interview to kind of share their side of the events. And then, like, it was all arranged, more or less, and then they decided not to, which was like, okay, whatever. And then Boo Productions said, you know, they politely declined, and that was kind of where we all left it, right? And that was kind of it until a couple of days ago when Beardo uploaded a part 2 to his investigation, or his I guess you can call it a debunk of, would you call it a debunk? I don't know. There was a part 2 of something to his YouTube channel, and basically within his video he talks about where things are at, and basically how Paranormal Nightmare have since taken Jed's episode down, posted it to their members only section, or relisted it to their members only section, but then also changed the description of their paranormal investigation to kind of talk about, well, you can see it on your screens right here, where, long story short, unfortunately, we have strong reason to believe that the story behind this haunting was an elaborate hoax, and we tried to take everyone at face value. Recent lies have put an entire interview into question. It's very unfortunate, but we felt that this episode needed a disclaimer. Right, so that's kind of what's, I think, sparked this part 2 from Beardo. And, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the part 2 right now, because it is, there's a lot of information in there. So, within this video, obviously, Beardo talks at the beginning about the video that he's already created, discussing Jed, a homeowner who sought the Foreman Brothers' help to investigate alleged paranormal activity. After Beardo's criticism of their methods and evidence, the Foreman Brothers reportedly removed their video, obviously, and Jed's investigation and social media posts related to it. So the texts that I showed in the video privately, or previously, sorry, that those posts and community posts have now apparently been taken down. And, you know, the Beardo then goes on to talk about the issue with the Foreman Brothers. So Beardo criticizes their approach, claiming that they faked evidence during Jed's investigation. Obviously, this is something that he stated within part 1, but reinforced in part 2. He also alleges that they focus more on creating clickbait content rather than genuinely helping Jed and his family. And instead of addressing Jed's emotional struggles, they reportedly portrayed unrelated events, like a blood sugar incident from Jed's undiagnosed diabetes, as paranormal phenomena for dramatic effect, which I saw in the comments got a lot of people riled up. Then there was like Jed's emotional fallout after this. So Jed felt betrayed apparently and unsupported by the Foreman Brothers, and Beardo and Jeff from Boo Productions stepped in to provide genuine support, in Beardo's words, focusing on addressing the emotional and mental health challenges Jed faced rather than purely investigating paranormal claims. The Foreman Brothers' reaction to this was allegedly, you know, the Foreman Brothers allegedly revised the description of their video about Jed, now hidden behind a paywall, claiming that the haunting was part of a, quote, elaborate hoax. Beardo calls this a, quote-unquote, scumbag move, accusing them of blaming Jed to deflect any form of criticism. He also goes on to argue that their inconsistent narratives, for example, claiming Jed was a hoaxer whilst presenting paranormal evidence, exposes their dishonesty within the video. And then Beardo's counter-arguments to all of this is he dismantles the Foreman Brothers' claims of Jed being a hoaxer, pointing out the logical inconsistencies in their own statements, Paranormal Nightmares that is, and Beardo highlights their failure to provide any adequate aftercare for Jed and contrasts their behaviour with how Boo Productions worked to improve Jed's mental and emotional well-being after the investigation. He has also accused them of exploiting vulnerable individuals for profit and creating misleading narratives for shock value. Beardo then also goes on to criticise the Foreman Brothers' reliance on memberships, Patreon and merchandise sales, claiming it's used to sustain their lifestyle rather than their investigations. And he takes issue with their portrayal as the quote-unquote good Christian boys while engaging in deceptive and exploitative practices. So Beardo then mocks their fan base, you know, particularly individuals who staunchly defend the Foreman Brothers despite evidence of their alleged deceit. And he accuses them of gaslighting their audience and attempting to silence critics by labeling them as quote-unquote bullies. Beardo then talks about how he plans to conduct a follow-up interview with Jed to document his full story, from his experience with the Foreman Brothers to the assistance he's received from Boo Productions. He emphasizes the importance of continuing to expose unethical practices in the paranormal investigation community. And then Beardo urges viewers to share the video to raise awareness about the Foreman Brothers' alleged misconduct and to support Jed. And he concludes by reiterating his commitment to helping individuals like Jed and holding unethical investigators accountable. So that's basically the crux of Beardo's part 2 video. Now, there was a part in there, obviously, that Beardo spoke about, and, you know, it was part that was to do with me, where he basically stated that I had somewhere along the line claimed that Paranormal Nightmare were going to be taking legal action against Beardo, which never was the case. I did state this within the comment section. I mean, it wasn't acknowledged, but I can assume it was seen. But I just said, hi Beardo, just for some important context for you and your peace of mind, I suppose. Though I was reaching out to various parties regarding this, I mentioned that they were talking to a legal team about this. I was never told, nor told by anyone, that they were aiming to sue you specifically, nor anyone for that matter. I was told to wait by the Foreman Bros for an interview as they were running things by their legal reps, but then they went quiet on me. To clarify though, at no point did they tell me that they were going to be suing you or anyone, just that they were speaking to their legal team. Hope that can clear things up. And that's, you know, that's where the whole thing was left, right? And then I know Mr. Gray obviously got wind of that comment and he created a video about it. Then he's since taken down because he, you know, took it out of context and it was basically the information wasn't quite right. He then put up a live stream talking about it, basically being like, I'm sorry for kind of getting that one wrong. And that was all fine, you know, just to kind of like fill people in on that front. But yeah, I think that's where we're at. Now, obviously, after this, I did reach out again to the Foreman Brothers. I've had no response as of yet, just to say, like, look, you know, obviously, I'm assuming you've seen that there's a part 2. Do you want to share your side of it? If you do, let me know. If there's any comments that you want added